Baptists That Amish Chick. Let's get into it.
No actual Candy Mountain, right?
Shun the non-believer.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're still with us, if you're wondering what the heck Charlie the Unicorn has to do with religion and deconstruction, let me tell you. So have you ever been a part of a church or a community and then left or had somebody else leave? And it's that awkward situation where you are literally like, shun the non-believer. That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. And so this actually came from like a Facebook post from a friend. They had found another church that just really lined up with their beliefs and where they were on their journey. And so they started attending the second church, and all of a sudden, all of their friends, and I use quotations when I say that, just disappeared. Quit texting, quit calling, quit responding, like see them out in public and they just kind of like avert their eyes and like walk the other way. Like, have you ever experienced that? Maybe you've experienced that on your journey. Like, I know we have in different ways, right? Like, I know Bethany's experienced that in a vastly different way. Than
I was actually shunned for you.
Shunned.
Shunned, yes.
And so, why do we do that? Right? Like, why do we do that? And what are, like, I don't know, we're just going to have a conversation about this and what that actually looks like and how to even like get around it. Maybe even like, maybe we can even touch on like finding real community and how that can,
How that can even help
keep that from happening again, essentially.
I think it is, I'm just gonna jump right in. Honestly, I think it is because there's a lack of intimacy. No one actually knows each other. It's just, hey, you're not following the rules anymore. And then it's emotional immaturity. I think that church culture is one of the most emotionally immature
100%.
places and communities of people, because there isn't that intimacy, there isn't that connection. There's not like, you can get into a work situation and there's times where people have to work together. There's some places where people have to just really trust each other. I mean, I think someone works in construction or something, they've got to have a lot of trust for that other person and the things that they're doing, because sometimes they're doing unsafe things. Where you step into church culture and it is a place where you see the same people all the time, constantly showing up at the same time. There's not trust, there's not intimacy, there is not actual true connection. You keep everything surface level. You have a topic that everyone knows about, that you can talk about, so you can actually avoid getting to know people, because we can just talk about the Lord.
Right.
I don't have to get to know you. We can just
Keep
about
it
the Lord.
really surface.
And if you try and actually talk about yourself and something you're struggling with or something that's happening, I'm just going to take it to talking about the Lord. We're going to stop talking about you, because that's self-centered. It's not
Or
about
like,
you.
I'll pray for you.
Yeah.
You know, like we'll definitely pray
I'll
for you.
pray, and then they walk it the other way and forget. They never do.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think that shunning, like you nailed it, I think, personally.
Thank you. That was the
Really.
end of the podcast.
Yeah.
Guys, come back next time.
See you next week.
Joking. That it all starts with that being afraid and scared to let people see who you actually are, you know. And if you guys have watched our previous episodes about the IBLP, you know, and that whole shiny happy people, we talked about what intimacy is, right? It's into me you see, like letting people see who you are authentically and being vulnerable. And if you're in a situation where there is no safety and there's no safety or freedom to be yourself, because you have to fit a mold, because you have to be good enough to get to heaven, you have to be good enough to please God, and the way that you do these things is by being in this mold all the time, then there will be no room for that authenticity and closeness. And as a result, when somebody decides to do something else, they are going outside of the mold, right? They are doing the things out of the bubble, right? And this bubble, like if you're not in here, then you won't make it. Like you're not going to make it. And what just blows me away is like, if God wanted us all to be the same, he would have created us that way. Have you ever stopped and thought about the fact that like, we're not all the same, and we actually came out of our mom that way? Like we were born this way. We were born with this personality, with these likes, with these dislikes, with these passions, with these desires in our hearts. And like we were born that way. We came straight from heaven here. And if we were all supposed to be the same exact person, we would be robots in heaven. Like heaven wouldn't be, and like as a result, God wouldn't be creative because he is a creative, because creativity isn't black and white. Creativity is an expression of somebody, right? And your creativity, Berlin, looks way different than mine. And you know, yours,
Mine's a lot
Leslie,
better.
I'm like, her serious face. For a second, I'm like, well, damn, we took a turn.
just kidding. I'm like looking for a comeback. She found it.
Oh my god.
Anyway, I took that serious, guys. I was the one who was like, "Meow." We went from Charlie the Unicorn to
Deep.
yeah. Anyway, so that's my, like, I think that's where it's a lot of shunning, or I call it shunning because that's what happens.
Like being that outcast or that outsider. And I also think it's really interesting that this kind of goes several different ways, right? It's not just when somebody leaves our church. It's even when somebody new comes in, it's like, who's that? Why are they here? What do they think? Who is
You're in
that?
my seat.
Listen, no. The amount of times, like I've heard stories of people going, I'm never going back to a church because I sat down and somebody said, oh, that's my seat, and had like a visitor get up and move.
What?
I'm like, listen, I've had people sit in my seat. I'm a creature of habit. I sit in the same place all
You
the
do.
time. I do. It's my seat.
You do,
And everybody
That's
knows it.
right.
Everybody knows it.
Next time I'm gonna sit in your seat.
I'll tell you to move. No,
I'll be like, listen, lady, listen, Linda, we're not religious.
listen, honey.
Yeah.
Honey,
But,
honey.
like when somebody sits in my seat, like I'll go find another one. I can be uncomfortable about it for a week, right? Like, and
until
I
you
think
find
we're
a new
such
one.
creature of habits too, like just people in general.
Right.
And so when some like the like slightest thing like inconveniences us, what?
What are you laughing?
So I was homeschooled, guys, and so my junior of high school, I went to a private Christian school, very small school, right? There was like 37 kids in my class, so we were all in the same class. So everyone like kind of even sat the same places they'd kind of sat like for
Forever.
years, right? And they just knew where they sat. So I decided to just do this thing, being the brand new kid, where I just had a new seat every day. It fucked the whole class up. Every day. There was this one chick who did not like me because she would like started trying to get to class earlier and earlier because if I took her seat and jacked things up, she was a wreck.
Sitting there
And
waiting for the
she's just-
teacher to show up to unlock the door, like I gotta beat her. Like
I
Just
wasn't
to
that
be
I
funny.
wasn't that early, but I would just change up the seat all the time, and everyone's just like looking around like they didn't know what to do because no one has assigned seats, but everyone
That is
sat at the same
hilarious.
place. All right.
Okay, well, I will be that person in church. I'll just be like, listen, I'm gonna go sit
I'm
and
so glad we're not meeting for the summer. Give you time to forget.
I'm not gonna forget. I'm an elephant
I got-
in this area.
Um,
Locked and loaded.
But I think it's so interesting. Like we have new people come in and we're even like, who's that? Why are they here?
Mm.
And I think there was even a story one time you told Berlin about new believers, like when they first like, what's the language I'm trying to use? Like when they're first saved, and it's like we expect them to look a certain way and we try to change everything about them.
Yeah.
We want to fit them into this box, into this mold, like because you don't look, walk, talk, act the same way as we do. Really, like kind of going back to the IBLP like bonus episode we did. You're wanting everybody to fit a box and you're wanting everybody to fit a mold and fit your bubble. It's a really quick way to end up in a like cult-like situation.
Yeah, it is.
And really, when
100%.
people do walk out of a cult-like situation, they are shunned simply and made to look crazy.
Mhm.
That way, no one believes all the crap and trauma that's happening inside the bubble.
Yeah.
Gaslighting. It's
Yeah.
religious gaslighting, in my
It
opinion.
really is.
And like there is so much shaming that is done with shunning.
Mhm.
Like shaming is shunning's cousin.
Religion
Or
is so good
sister.
at shaming in general.
Yes, yeah, it's just good at it, period. But like it is, I was, when you were talking, Leslie, I was thinking about that, like every time you shun somebody, you have to shame them in order to do that. Like they have to be less than,
Because you
and
have to push
like,
them down.
yeah, it's like a devaluing of the person. You have to devalue them so that you can push them away, so that you can like make them to be the crazy person. And or the wrong
With a
person.
lost person, the person who's walking away
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
Lord, or
Yeah, like somehow the like
prodigal child.
because somehow, you know, God's not big enough to be able to go with you anywhere you go. So, you know, he only
go
stays in
before,
the
yeah.
church, and he only stays in super holy people and people who, you know, stay in the mold. And so anybody else, he just can't touch that because that is just gross and disgusting. And he didn't make that, right? So like, he's not ever going to love that. Can you imagine if you do that with your kids? You love all your kids. It doesn't matter if they're a rebel or not. Like, you love them because they're your kids.
Mhm.
They come from you. They're a part of you. God's the same way. He's not like over here shunning his own kids.
Right.
I really think, like, if I think back about the Amish and like the shunning that happened to me, my parents never really shunned me. My dad just, well, he just went along with it because it was a power move for him, and he was a very power hungry person. He was very, very messed up. Like, oh my gosh. He was a narcissist for sure. But like, if I think about, my mom never shunned me, really. She had to, she felt like she had to because she was a part of that community.
Mhm.
And like, community was such a big thing for her. She didn't want to lose that. And so it was really hard for her to be in that middle of like, I can't let my kid like be my kid like they used to be, you know, because of this community I'm connected to. And so it was really interesting to watch that and watch my family, how they kept up the shunning.
I was gonna
For
say,
like a
was it
certain-
different in your house and out of your house?
Yes. Well, I haven't been back to that church ever, and I've never I don't interact with anybody really. When I go back, I just go back to see my family. So I don't really know what would, I mean, I know what would happen. Actually, I'm sorry. When both of my parents passed away, I was like, the whole freaking community came together, like all three churches, the whole shebang, and it was a huge deal. And I was, but the thing is, even when I went back for my mom's funeral, which was the first thing I went back to do after I had left,
Oh, wow.
so one of the big things with shunning with the Amish is you can't sit with anybody else to eat, because they take that verse in the Bible, again, IBLP shit going on here. They take that verse in the Bible where it talks about the non-believer not eating with the believer, where Paul's like talking to, is it the Corinthian, somebody, right? Paul's talking to somebody, and and I don't even think he's not even talking about that. But they take the Bible literally. This is how literal the Amish will take the Bible, and then not take other parts of the Bible not literal. It is such a weird, like, what do you take literal and what don't you, right? But they take this, that's what they use.
Interesting.
To like, they basically think I'm a non-believer. I'm an unbeliever now, and I'm like on my way to hell.
You're like,
I've
you're right. I
basically-
am a non-believer of the
Yeah.
bullshit that you fed me my whole life.
Yeah, it's so interesting because like that in by itself shows you that they think that what they believe is the faith, that is faith in Jesus, that is faith in God. And so but the thing is, like, when I went back for my mom's funeral, even though I was shunned and I wasn't supposed to sit with anybody and eat with anybody, they put me right with my family. And I was like, how does this work?
So is that
though?
just a fear dynamic of like, is it the dangling carrot of like, you better not leave or you're shunned, but then you come back and they're like, oh no, you need to be with your family.
So yeah, or were they just like that because it was your mom's funeral?
I think,
Yeah.
I honestly think it was because of my mom's funeral, and they weren't going to, you know,
As a ruckus.
cause a ruckus, or like, not that I would have like been like, but they knew our family was hurting already, and they weren't going to add insult to injury, you know? And so that's kind of what I felt like. They were like, well, it's, you know, it's a funeral, it's whatever. But I'm like, you're so freaking strict on everything, yet you can bend the rules whenever you want to, and that's okay. Because when I bent the rules, I was like drug over coals, you know, like I was shunned, my hands were slapped, like metaphorically, all those things. So like, you can just bend the rules whenever you want to. Like, that doesn't make any sense. In shunning, like if you're going to keep everything else that you say, you sure as hell should probably keep that too. If you're going to be as strict as you say you are, I'm like, oh, there's actually some humanity in you. Well, that's nice. You're not a
Glad to
complete.
see like the silver lining.
Yeah,
At least
glad
there's a
to-
glimmer of it.
Glad to see that there's some feeling in there, and you're not just all rules.
Yeah.
But my family kept like in the house. This is the funny part. With the shunning is my family. The first time I went back after I'd left, which was like before my mom passed away. I remember walking into one of my sister's house. She's still Amish. Walking into her house, and we were getting ready for dinner. And it was the first meal I'd had with my family, like since I had left. And she takes me out. She's like, "Hey, I got to talk to you about something." I was like, "Oh, okay, I know it's."
You're like, yeah, here we
And
go.
so she takes me out to the
It's okay, I brought
entrance.
my own end stand.
Yeah.
Pops up a TV tray.
I was like, honestly, I would rather sit with the kids anyway, to be honest, because that's
But
usually what
you're
they-
safe enough to
kid.
sit with the kids, but not with the adults.
because the kids aren't believers yet, like they aren't baptized into the church yet.
But you can't influence them. Be like, everyone come with me. Like,
Well, no, I guess they think that that's okay. I mean, I can't spend time with my nieces and nephews too much. Like I've never been around them.
dangerous.
Well, yeah, you know. Anyway, especially the older nieces and nephews,
Yeah.
because they start thinking for themselves.
So
So
they come back with tattoos and piercings.
mhm. God forbid
You should
that
go
happens.
with some stick-on tattoos next time.
I thought about
Hey, you
that.
got some extra, those
You got
sleeve
some- you got
tattoos?
some-
You
I
got some
do.
extras?
Yeah.
We'll just put
We're
this on
sending
my
them with
arm
ya.
before I go up in August. That'll be great. Oh my gosh, people will freaking love me with my dreads and my shaved head and tattoos and nose ring.
I go with
Lord
you?
have mercy. Yes,
my
you can.
gosh.
Do you want to come with me?
I mean, I would if I could ask
Okay.
off work.
Okay.
We'll see.
I
I
would
wanna-
love that.
They would have a heyday with both of us, wouldn't they?
Listen, let's
All
go.
three of us need to go. That needs to be our girls trip. I think.
And purity culture shirts.
Yes. Yes. Freak yes. If you
You haven't
don't
got
know,
one.
yes, we have purity culture shirts, and they're purity culture dropout shirts. If you guys want this, go, oh, wouldn't that be the shit? Oh, that would be amazing.
revelation in the middle.
Anyway,
Like vacation plans.
yes,
All of a sudden.
for real,
Oh my
dude.
gosh, so
I
fun.
will. Okay, so anyway, she takes me out into the entrance, and she's like, "So you probably know what I want to talk to you about." And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, we don't, we're a part. It was so freaking awkward because she like wanted me to know that she loves me, and I think it was just as hard for her, honestly, to like reinforce this. It was harder for her to reinforce it than it was for me, because I'm
Now,
like,
was she married?
yes,
Do you
was
think
like,
it was her
yeah,
husband
that's what I
telling
was
her
gonna
to
ask.
have that conversation with you?
I don't know. I think maybe, probably, because I don't think she'd be as.
She
I don't know.
would've
She's
said
pretty,
everything
she's pretty
she would've-
strict, though. I don't know. Now that you say that, I feel like they probably did have a conversation.
Oh, I'm
about it.
sure.
Anyway, so I was like, for me, I was like, this is no skin off of my teeth. I mean, yeah, it hurts to be like rejected like that, but it's not me enforcing anything on you. You're the one who's coming at me,
Mhm.
like, so anyway, she just proceeds to like basically be like, we're part of the church, and as part of the church members, we have to do this. And I was like, yeah, it's cool, I'm fine. And so
You're like, I was a part of that too.
Yeah, I
Like,
was
I
like,
know
I
the
was-
same
I
bullshit
was-
you're coming at me with.
yeah, and so like that meal was a little, it wasn't awkward, because I was like, I don't have anything to be awkward about, guys.
Well, and you
Like,
expected it. You knew
Yeah.
you knew that was potentially coming.
yeah, they just all acted so like tiptoeing around me and
They
making
knew it
sure
wasn't
that I was,
right.
they would make sure I was okay and whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm good. Like,
Were
it's
they
all
scared
good.
you were just gonna come in and like blow everything up?
I don't know. They knew I would. I don't know, because I don't think when I left, I think they realized like, oh shit, we don't know our sister. We don't actually know who she is.
We don't know what she's capable of.
Yeah.
And what she's gonna come back with. or
Exactly.
as.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it was like they were tiptoeing around me, like you said, Berlin,
Mhm.
because they knew, like didn't feel good for them. I know it didn't. I could see it on their faces. And so that was really interesting. And then like the next few times I went back, it just slowly stopped being a thing. Like they would set the table,
Mhm.
and like they'd set up the big huge table long, like put a few tables together, like everybody sits, they preset the table.
Yeah.
And anyway, and so, and then I went back, and I'm like, I didn't say anything, but I was like, I'm not separated anymore. Like they literally counted me in, like there's a spot and nobody else is sitting there. Like,
Do you think it's because
Hmm.
you went back still operating in honor? Like I'm not here to be like, you guys need to come with me. What are you still
Mhm.
doing here? Like, you're not convincing them to
Mhm.
do anything different.
Yeah.
You're treating them the same that you always have,
Right.
you know, like, I
Yeah.
wonder if that played into it. Like, oh, we're still being honored even with the differences.
Yeah. I think that made a difference. And I wonder sometimes if they're like, well, we don't like, we'd rather have family than, honestly, when I noticed a big change was after my mom died. I think a lot of things that were like, this just doesn't really matter. It felt like that shift happened where they're
Mhm.
like, it really doesn't matter. We just like lost mom. Like,
Mhm.
is this actually,
We are
like,
what each other has.
yeah, what they
Yeah.
I feel like it put things in perspective. Like,
Mhm.
what are we doing here? Right? Is
Yeah.
this actually important? Does this really matter?
Mhm.
So anyway, that was interesting. That was my shunning experience.
Mhm.
And the church still shuns me. They're still like, you can't come back. Well, if I come back, I'd have to jump through all their hoops and go through a whole instruction class and approving period, and like making sure that Bethany's doing all the right things before they could, accept me back. But that's not going to happen because
You're like, I'm not worried
we
about
have
it.
tattoos and nose rings, so that's pretty permanent.
Automatically shunned.
Yeah.
Just nailed that coffin shut.
Yes.
funny.
Anyway, what was yours? Did you have any experiences like that, Berlin?
I'm trying to think back, honestly, as I'm like sitting here processing it, I'm like, I probably have stories. But at the same time, I think it was such a traumatic experience when I left like the church I
Mhm.
grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
Because for us, it was honestly like my family was like, hey, either leave or we're throwing you out. And it all started because of me.
Wasn't it because you
So
got called
Shocking
in for,
Berlin was
like-
the troublemaker.
Yeah, so we got a new youth pastor and I went to the youth
Oh, yeah.
pastor. I've said this in other episodes, but I'll give a summary. A youth pastor's wife was kind of like spreading drama. She was coming in and acting like a friend and then telling other, kids in the youth group the story, like acting like
Sharing
another
your stuff.
teenager. Yeah.
Mhm.
And there was just things going on and I was like, the way she was acting, I was like, I feel like she doesn't like me. Like, I feel like there's, when you're a teenager, like this adult doesn't like me. And so I was like, all right, let's just do the adult thing and go and talk to her about it. Right. I took my parents with me because, I was still like 17 or something like that. And it all flipped around. And then basically ended up, the pastor was like, hey, you guys bring too many hooligans to church because I brought too many teenage friends to church with me.
Yeah, they brought
You know?
a busload of kids from.
Yeah, from the hood.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice.
We had all of our
Mhm.
like church buses that went and picked kids up and stuff and brought them. They could come, but
But you
know,
brought too
my-
many
my-
hooligans.
my friends were too much, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, and so basically they were like, either you leave the church or we're throwing you out. And so I do remember there being a few times that we like see people in the grocery store and they would like all of a sudden like turn the cart real quick and go the other way. And so that always made me wonder, like, what did they tell them that happened?
Right.
That makes me curious about it. But I don't remember exact circumstances, right? Because then when I left the church, like since I wasn't around my friends because I wasn't at church, I didn't see my friends. I didn't talk to my
Mhm.
friends, right? All those things. So it was
Right.
just like the people were gone because I was
Like, you didn't even
where
have
they
the
were.
chance to see him at school.
Yeah.
Like, right.
Right,
'Cause
yeah,
you're
I was a homeschool
homeschooled, like,
kid,
you're
so
not
yeah.
seeing.
So it wasn't like I was
Yeah.
running to them. at
Except the
school or
time you were
something.
like causing drama, stealing seats,
That's yeah,
That's
no one year at
hilarious.
school. So funny. And so yeah, it was, I think that was actually the year before even. Like that I even went to school. And so I don't actually have specific stories. Like I said, it's probably actually like a trauma response because it was a big thing. Like that was the church I grew up in, being a homeschool kid. That's where all my friends were. I had friends at gymnastics and stuff too, but it was like different friendships. It was, we do athletic things together and that's about it.
Mhm.
Like and so that was very interesting. Now, that being said, it's funny now on social media, because on social media, you can see how people shun you in that way, right? And so I've had full-on posts written about me. It was funny. Guys, if you write a post about me, I will share that post and let everyone know that it was about me. If you didn't use my
There's
name.
no
Like, call you out
hiding.
and go, why didn't you tag me?
Yes, please tag me in the next nasty post that you write about me and don't use my name, but make it very clear it's about me. I'll call you out. And for me, I'm like, yes, it's a shunning, and I have watched people collectively. I was actually talking to my husband about this the other day, where I was like, it's funny to see the people that I did grow up with. We were talking about the IBLP stuff and how I have friends that completely walked away from faith or just don't go to church anymore, right? They're just not involved. I have friends that, I don't want to say friends, people I grew up with, right? That are kind of where I'm at, where they've deconstructed and are trying to figure out where their faith's at and what they believe or have figured it out now. And then there's the people who are still fully in it. And it's so interesting to me to just see them come in on the posts, or I'll see someone do a, you know, passive aggressive post that I know they're talking about something that I shared about, because anyone else that's even left the faith the way I did, they just kind of stand under the table and keep quiet about it and just living their life. Whereas I'm the one, I'm like, hey,
never gonna be quiet.
yeah, I'm like, hey guys, here's what's happening over here. Here's
Talking, fierce truth is loud about it.
here's what I think is bullshit. And so it's interesting to see the people that come in.
Honestly, just more offended at the fact that she just said bullshit than anything else she
It's
said.
true.
They wouldn't have read it if she didn't. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I watched my friends list go down as I throw in just the word bullshit or something. It's funny.
The trash takes itself
It
out.
really does.
I know. I never realized people have unfollowed me until they pop up on the people you may know, and I'm like,
Oh,
I wonder what it was exactly that I said.
I wish you had
that-
notifications just because I want to know.
I know. I'm
Right.
like, I want to know when you unfollow me, so I know what it was
Mhm.
that I did.
Right.
Because I'm gonna do more of that.
Mhm.
Just because I can.
So funny. Yeah, so it's funny just to see those people pop up, and it's a different version of shunning, right? When people
Yeah.
are coming and agreeing with
Mhm.
those passive aggressive posts where they're like, I'm gonna come in and comment and be like, yeah, this person's wrong, this person's this person's that. I can't believe this. They think this, they think that. And the way that they push people away, for me, it pushes me closer to God because I know what they're living in is
Mhm.
religion. But I'm like, I know you're pushing people completely away from God.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
the same time,
Yeah.
you are completely shunning them with those words. So for me, it was like, I've seen a lot of it happening actually on, via social media, and actually more as an adult, because it's funny, I'll have people that be like, oh, I'll add Berlin as a friend, and then
They
all of a
don't know
sudden
what they
start-
signed up for.
I haven't seen her in years. And then they all of a sudden see my post and start commenting. I'm like, oh, you showed up here.
You invited
Welcome.
yourself in.
Welcome, right? Yeah.
Like the
so
exits this way.
yeah.
Like when you're ready.
You know where it's at. You know where it's at. I don't know. For me, it's kind of at this point, it's entertaining. There was a time where it was hurtful because
Yeah.
when you're a teenager and your friends are like
Yeah.
everything, right? And now I'm like able to see and understand that like people are just setting me free. And I think that's a good way to look at it. If someone's able to shun you because you left a church, they have set you free. Be like, bye. Peace. Later, see you. Like, I don't need you in my life if we can't stay friends in the same way because I decided to go to a different church,
Mhm. Yeah.
then bye.
Then
Yeah.
bye. For real.
So like part of my journey, like, and I've shared this before, is like part of my like deconstruction and reconstruction was literally church hopping.
Oh.
Like God sent me a lot of different places to like pick up pieces as I went. Because first off, he's gracious and he wasn't just going to throw me to the deep end. Because with
Right.
some things he can do that, and other things he's like, yeah, no, she clearly can't
Yeah.
do that
Yeah.
with this one. And so, like it's funny each step of the way, like I had people that would like weave in and out based on where I'd go. We'd kind of like cross paths again. But it's like every single place I went, I always had like one or two people that would like stay in touch. And the rest, it's kind of like, oof, I don't know. And what's really funny, I don't know if I've told this on the podcast before or not, but like whenever I first found this community that we're all a part of, our local like church community that we're a part of, and I was actually living at home, and my cousins found out, they asked my dad, they're like, would Leslie come back and teach Bible school, like Sunday school for some of the kids? And I was like, I'll teach it, but y'all aren't going to like what I teach. Like, I'll teach it. And I'm not like, I'm going to teach truth and you're not going to like it.
Yeah.
Right. Like we're not just talking about David and Goliath and finger painting anymore.
David and Goliath, as you said.
Like, we're
That's
not
funny.
talking just that. Like, they're going to learn some other stuff. And when your little babies start coming out speaking in tongues, you're not going to really like Leslie at all.
And that Holy Ghost.
I mean, really, like they're not.
That
But
is shunning all it is.
my dad's response to them was, I don't know what kind of a cult she's a part of now. And I'm like, Dad, you cannot like make that joke. Like, I get it. You think you're
Mhm.
funny, but I'm like, I need you to not call what I'm doing like
Mhm.
a cult. Just like, especially when you're sitting there
Mhm.
in the same seat you've sat for 20 years, 20 plus. Like, let's be
Yeah.
honest, we've moved once.
Mhm.
We moved back. We were new and we were at the front, and as like people died off and stuff, we could slowly move back. I'm slightly sarcastic on that comment. Slightly. But like, I'm like, you can't, you don't understand it, and he's not ready, right?
Mhm.
Like he's not there. And so every once in a while I go and like push stuff. And so
Yeah.
I don't ever feel like I've been shunned, but it's literally when I walk back in those doors, they're like, oh, she's back. Like, oh, the prodigal child's come home. And I'm like, no, I haven't.
No,
I'm gonna come judge your sermons and your songs. I'm gonna sit there and shake my head no the whole time you're talking and whisper loudly, that ain't right. That's not what that says. Have you seen the historical context there? Because that's not right. Like, I sit there in the back and I have my own commentary, and my dad's probably like, shut up, like, you've got to stop talking. But like
I feel like Leslie's
She's
just
like,
having a heyday.
Excuse me,
Listen,
pastor,
though,
that's
they're-
wrong.
I'm like, are you sure? What seminary did you go to? She's like, Calvinist.
Which
Got it.
cemetery school was it?
Oh my gosh. Anyway, like, I never feel like I got shunned, but it's definitely like, there have been a couple instances I go home, like at the grocery store, and they're like, and in college, they're like, did you find a good Baptist church? No, I sure didn't. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, there's this Baptist church. And what about this Baptist church? And I was like, or what about not a Baptist church?
Mhm.
Like,
I
I know.
She's
And it's,
so-
and I know. And that's the part where they're like, she's hopeless.
Shun,
She's hopeless. Like, we can't save her. Like, she's gone. And so it's funny, like, I'll have a few people from each like phase of my whole church hopping journey that have stayed close, remained friends. Even then, some of those friends lasted for several years, and then it imploded once we started this. Oh well.
But
But
will
like,
help you get rid of your friends. I mean,
I know.
people you thought were
Apparently all it
friends.
takes is being tagged in a Facebook post.
I'm
No,
sorry.
no, but like, it's
I'm more fun of a friend anyways.
facts. There's bourbon at her house.
It's true. We found that out.
We
last
found
night.
it yesterday. No, like, we went hunting for it. She got
Right.
it out. She's like, here. No, but I don't think there's ever been too much as drastic of a story as yours, right? Like,
Mhm.
I think sometimes it's that awkward, like, we don't know why they left, but I'm still here. So I feel like I'm going to get pulled out. Like, we feel like we're going to get dragged somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So there's definitely been people who are just like,
Mhm.
you're dead to me. And I'm like, am I? Or are you just not ready to step up?
Yeah.
Right? Like, are you not ready to, like, I'm moving forward and I'm wanting to step up higher and go
Mhm.
further and do all these things. If you're comfortable sitting here,
Mhm.
That's on
Set.
you.
set. I'm not going to spend my energy picking you up, dragging you out. Like, that's on you to figure out.
Mhm.
Mhm.
100%.
Yeah, that's funny. I
And
love.
so I'm not shunning you either by
Uh-huh.
leaving and stepping up. You're choosing to stay behind.
Mhm.
And you don't have to
Sure.
walk the same journey. Like, I'm not saying, like, no matter where I step that I can't relate to these people, but like, you have the option, the invitation's there.
I think that's a big piece to it too, because for some reason in life, we're okay with people. We're okay with saying sometimes you grow out of your friends. Sometimes you have to move on.
Mhm.
Sometimes you have to change circles. Sometimes things need to shift. But then when it comes to church life, first of all, they're like, there's a clique there. I hate
Mhm.
that's only
Yeah.
used in churches. No, maybe this is just my group of friends. And I
Right.
don't like you other people.
Right.
I don't want to be friends with you.
Maybe I
clique.
like spending time around the people that are going to call me up and call me
Yes.
higher and not drag me down and like keep me stuck
Mhm.
and go back into old patterns.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, but somehow there becomes a problem when you're like, hey, I'm actually supposed to level up and it's time for me to go to a new church or a new place, or maybe not go to a church, right?
And
I've
like,
done my
oh, you
most
sure
growth
that's
outside
the
of
Lord's will? Because like, you know,
Yeah, it's
the
Lord's
enemy-
will for you too, Amy, but you're sitting there with your fingers in your ear, not listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And so,
I'm not
Not
sorry.
sorry.
I'm just
yeah, I
I'm
think
sorry, not
it's,
saying it, just interrupting.
I just think it's interesting that in those worlds, it's like that. And then, I mean, it's like the crab in the bucket. I actually had the Lord tell me that. My last church I was at, it's funny. I actually, my husband had his work move him for a little bit. And so I moved with him. We moved away for 8 months. And I had a group of like 6 friends. Did anyone check on me at all? We talked every single day on Marco Polo. Did anyone check on me, see how I was doing, talk to me? One did. That was it. I came back. Did anyone really even say hi to me at church? No. Did anyone really notice we were gone? Like someone's like, oh, you haven't been here for 8 months. Yeah, we haven't been here for 8 months. And so we've talked about intimacy and like how important that is, right? And when that's lacking, that's a piece of it. And so that's a big thing that I learned too, is that intimacy piece of being in the friendships. And, you know, after I had that experience where I came back and like no friends were contacting me, and I was going through some really hard things. I just had a miscarriage. We had just stopped fostering. So we had like, you know, 13 losses of children, right? And so there was a lot that was going on. And the Lord is finally like, there are crabs in your bucket. You know, the concept is you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket and one tries to climb out, they will all continually pull each other down.
Yeah.
And so the Lord's like, those people are crabs in your bucket. I don't want you to have anything to do with them anymore. It's time to move on. It's like, I've got to take you higher. And that's when I found things like kingdom concepts. I was introduced to the prophetic. I was introduced to Holy Spirit. I was introduced to praying in tongues.
Such a prophetic thing. You left for, I literally was like just getting like the numbers and all that. I was like, oh, that's a whole word on its own right there.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
And so God calls us up and to move on. I mean, God calls you up into a new job. Why wouldn't he call you up into a new church?
Right.
And maybe one person, maybe you're supposed to, maybe not for everyone that's staying that places. I'm not saying that well. Some people are putting their fingers in their ears, like you said, and saying, la, 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 I'm not moving up. Other people, God's like, you have an assignment here. You're supposed to be here, whether it be that you're still learning things, or whether it be you're actually pouring into other people. But like, we need to be willing to be like, you know, your friend gets a new job where they're paying twice as much. You're like, yeah, I wish I could still work with you because you're my work buddy, but like, dang, go take the job.
Right,
we need to be that same way in churches and faiths and stuff.
Yeah.
And then when they come back to visit, let's not tear them down.
And let's celebrate them.
Yes, and let's not be like, I'm supposed to come back to the right place now. Like you said that. It's interesting when I went back to my my childhood church. I've been back since we left. I've been back one time because my cousin was getting married there. And I remember walking in, and the same lady who taught the purity culture class, which I actually adored her, but like her concepts were shit. They were really jacked up. It's funny. She walked up to me, and I was wearing a black dress. It was short sleeves. It was probably mid-thigh dress for me. It was short then.
Oh,
Now I would wear things way shorter, but it was like I had a pair of high heels on. I was married. My husband picked out the dress. I was like, I want a new dress for the wedding. He picked it out. He's like, you can get that one. If you want to get a new dress, you can get that one. I was like, I'm in. I walked up and she goes, your mom didn't sew some lace on the bottom of that dress for you? Man, girl, that's short. And I was like,
you're like, no, I don't live at home.
You're like, that's the only thing you can think of to say to me after I come back. Okay.
This is my welcome back to the Baptist church.
You're like,
yeah,
you should have been like, thank you so much for reminding me why I got the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like, that's nice. That's what shunning will do. Like, it'll literally, like, it prioritizes a system over any relationships. It's that is the root of it. It's like, we have to prioritize the system over any relationships. If they threaten the system, boom, you're out. Like, there is no thinking that maybe the system is just a big bully causing a shit ton of destruction.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, no, we will protect this at all costs because this is our comfort zone. It doesn't care. Like, I don't care how much pain it costs somebody. This is my comfort. What were you going to say?
There's this church here in town that I want us to go to. So I've got a story. So basically there's this like just general Bible study. It's not associated with the church. A church has like pulled it in because they want control. But anyway, a bunch of people from a second church have started coming in, and they're like, listen, like, I got a word that transformed my life. Like, this stuff is happening. Like, this is great. Went back to their church and was like, I've been asking for prayer and healing from you guys for months. And I went one time and everything changed. One prayer from one person. And they were like, well, who is it? And they were like, oh, it's this woman and this man. Like, we're friends with them. Anyway, the whole church, the pastor got up on the pulpit and was like, anyone associated with them, you either need to leave and go find another church, or you like basically form solidarity here. Like, you are all in here. And they also said, hey, that chiropractor you've been going to see, you no longer see him, or you're no longer a part of this church. Like, I'm seriously like this. The pastor got up and was like, listen, we're not having any of that stuff.
Call. When do we get to go to this church? Can we go on Sunday?
What you doing tomorrow morning? Literally, for real. Like, I want to go.
Oh,
I
you're not
want to
kidding.
go. We need to get the purity culture shirts first.
Yes.
Listen, if I'm gonna stir a pot, we're gonna really
Yes.
stir it.
We're gonna go in there with the biggest freaking
We can't
ladle we
all
have.
wear it,
and
though.
stir
I'll
that
wear a
shit
short
up.
skirt. I'm in.
she's like, I got that black dress.
Oh yeah, I've got a short dress. Let's go.
Or I got that short slitted dress I wore the other day.
True.
Mhm.
Anyway, so if you wonder what the Butterchurn Girls is all about, this is it. We're stirring shit up. No, but like, it's so funny that
We're
like
breaking religion off
Shun
people.
the non-believer like goes in so many different directions. The pastor's threatened,
Mhm.
and so he's kicking people out and shunning them, or saying like, "Hey, the medical care you've been receiving that's working, you can't go to him anymore."
God.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's mind blowing the things that religion is
Yeah.
entitled to, or thinks that they're entitled to, right?
The destruction it will cause. It does
Oh,
not
to
care
them.
about people. It does
No,
not care.
because that
about
church was like, there were families that they were like, nope, you need to reconcile your marriage. You need to reconcile your marriage. You just need to sort it out. And they went, got prayer, broke off a lot of things that were really like
Mhm.
holding them down at that Bible study. One night, it took one couple, and then they told some people, and like 5 couples showed up. And like, so slowly more and more people, and that chiropractor
But this
lost like,
Bible study sounds pretty good. Ish.
Yeah.
The people sound really good at the Bible study.
like there's a touch of religion, you know, but like we're gonna kind of find a touch of religion here and there,
Yeah.
no matter where we go.
right.
But yeah, like a lot of freedom, a lot of cool stuff
Sounds
happening.
like a lot of other
And
systems.
Mhm.
it's amazing where like the shunning is actually like a theme within religion,
Mhm.
Mhm.
because it's, I don't know, it's really fascinating to me what people think is okay and
Mhm.
acceptable,
Mhm.
and just like
In the name
it's
of God.
human behavior, or it's in the name of God or
Mhm.
whatever, and they would never act like that anywhere else.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, it's like you know who you actually are when you by how you treat people that you don't like or don't get along with. That's how we know who you are. You can be nice all day long to people who are nice to you, but what do you do when people, don't think the way you do, don't talk the way you do,
Mhm.
don't act the way you do? What do you do then? That's who you actually are. That's what you actually believe.
Mhm.
And like, yeah, I feel like that's a good place to like
Yeah,
bring this to.
I
Mhm.
agree. I
I
agree.
That's good.
Yeah.
Guys.
So let us know if you guys have any shunned
Yeah.
stories. Like if you have stories of
Have you
like,
been the non-believer?
have you been shunned? Because if you have, we want to know and we want to advocate for you.
Mhm.
And even share your stories. If you want us to, we'll keep your name off of it. If you don't want to, because
We love sharing your stories.
Yeah,
it's
we love
amazing
sharing
the
your
things that are
stories.
coming out of your stories that you're sharing with us.
Yes.
yeah, and we want to protect you. And so anyway, that's it, guys. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.